This is a show about sports stuff, all about sports stuff, yeah. Josh knows all about sports stuff, all about sports stuff, yeah. Come on in and join the show. Good evening. My name is Joshua Leland Evans. What's your name? That's nice. I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy to be here because I'm happy to be anywhere. I went through a very traumatic thing starting about 7 years ago. I got cancer, and then I got cured from that. Came back. I got a bone marrow transplant. I got hepatitis, and for the next 5 years, I was pretty much toast. But I survived, and I'm just happy to be on this earth. And it changes a lot of things in your life. Either you become bitter, which is a horrible thing to be, or you use it to say, hey, I'm happy I made it, and here I am, and I'm not going to waste any minute. Now, I definitely waste some minutes. I like to play video games. I like to watch TV. I like to just screw around. But I also love to work. I like to be with my family and my friends, and I love what I do. And what I do is I sell sports memorabilia. Now, there's a lot more to that. I've been doing it pretty much my whole life. I always loved it. I got into it because my parents were into it when I was a very young boy. And I was a very maladjusted young man. I was not like most kids, and I'm still not like most kids or adults for that matter. And I enjoyed it because there was an element of solitude. At the same time, it allowed me to connect with people in a way that I had trouble otherwise. And even today, I do that. But I think mostly the reason I did it was because my mom did it and my dad. And more so, I think it was to connect with my mother because I wanted her approval. And I got it because I was really good at it. And I'm still good at it. And thank God my mom's still around and she still approves of it most of the time. And that makes me happy. And we just came off the holidays, Hanukkah. And I'm not really into religion. I don't want to say I don't believe in God because I don't really know. But I believe in a higher power. And I believe that there's things such as there's certain values that come along with it that are important. And actually, I call them Christian values because that's what they're called. Because I don't think they're religious. I just think they're a moral code that we all need. And all our codes are different, and I think that's good too. But as long as you stick by yours and it's not too crazy, you'll be a good person. So we had Hanukkah this past week, and it was really nice because we celebrated it for the first time in many, many years. We lit the menorah, and actually, my mom and I and my sister, who was not there for most of it, was on the telephone. We did a Facebook Live thing on my site, Josh Evans' personal site, not Leland's site. And it was great. So if you want to take a look at it. But the one thing that kind of I loved, but then it also bothered me, was that I think it was better than this show. And therefore, I don't see that as a bad thing, of course, but I see it as this show could be better. And in the coming days, months, years, whatever, I'll try to do that. But anyway, I'm glad you're here. And you're here with me. And it's a very funny thing. I do a lot of shows. I do a lot of, not these kind of shows, not videos, but I do a lot of sports shows and a lot of antique shows. And I've done a lot of them. I don't know if I've done thousands, but I've done hundreds, in the high hundreds. And when I'm there, you own me. It's very interesting because I give it all. So like if you come to talk to me, you got me, unless I'm pulled away by something else. But it's funny when I come home and people call me and stuff like that. It's a little harder because then I got all the distractions that go on. But I try, and so that's interesting because like when I'm here, you own me. So make the best of it, me and you. So let's see who's here. I have a nice message from Dave Mooch, who's commenting on my health, and he's glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm here too. Yes. Then Dave is going to get me in as a WWF manager. Now, you know what? I'm in. I would love to do that. I would do it. I'm in. That's it. I like getting dressed up in crazy costumes. And I like being in front of a stage, on a stage and in front of a crowd. I'm not a good athlete, but I can make do. And I'm big. And Dave, done. Now he's saying WWF. I'm not going to get into the WWF, right? But why don't we start smaller? So I'm in. So we got, who else is here? Gary Neonoris. Hi. He says, hi, Josh. I say, hi, Gary. And Kevin Nasta's here. And he wants me to be a manager too. I'm in. Okay. So, I'm showing you some of the things I've been getting lately. As you know, I'm really into non-sports. Now, non-sports is not everything in the world that's not sports. It's actually non-sports cards. Every card in the world that's not sports, which is ridiculous. Whatever. I say this all the time. And I love this. I found this, and I love foreign stuff. The foreign stuff to me is almost more interesting than the American stuff because you don't see it. And this is a box. Actually, it's from Belgium. And I've been to Belgium. It's great. Go to Belgium. It's an amazing place. And it's not expensive and snooty like France. And you go to Brussels. The food's amazing. Great asparagus. By the way, like $25 a plate asparagus. It's so good. Sorry. That was not a nose pick. I did not pick. Look at this. Is that great? That's a card box. So rare. And it's Belgia, which Belgia is the name of the company. It's a gum company like Topps. And look at that. Look at those graphics. Is that great? It's like Commander Cody or whatever. I just love this. There he is again. I love that guy. Isn't that guy cool? I used to collect robots when I was a kid. When I say a kid, when I was like, in my 20s. Love that. I got this. Here's the stuff. Belgian bubblegum. And there were cards in this. So now I have to find the cards that went to this box. Because it came, there's probably packs. Got to find that. So when I was in 1983, I got out of school and I went to England. And I went with a friend of mine, a roommate of mine from college. And beforehand, we worked through about the beginning of August. That's when we were going to go because we needed money to go with. So rather than getting a job, I had already, I'd been through this a few years. It's funny, like when I first started going in the summer for a job, I was a dishwasher and I worked in a warehouse and I would go on the weekends and I would do collectibles and I would make more money in 2 days than I did working there for 2 weeks. So it took a little time, but I figured out like, wait, what am I doing here? This is stupid. But you always thought that you couldn't make money during the week in collectibles because the only place to sell really was shows, or they also had mail order, but that was a little more complicated. So I realized I could go all week buying stuff, and then on the weekend I go to shows and make money, and it was great. So instead of like I was going to make like $2,000 to go to Europe that summer, I made like $6,000 in like a month or 2 months, something like that. And it was amazing. I was blown away. So I ended up going not to Europe for a month. I went to Europe for like 6 months. But my friend, he couldn't only go for like 3 weeks. So that was all right. But then I went on my own and I traveled all over Europe. And I actually traveled all over Europe looking for memorabilia because that's what I like to do. I'm crazy. Most people are out, doing, getting high, getting drunk, doing all that stuff. I did a little bit of that, of course, but I loved finding memorabilia. And I actually used to go to the movies all the time. I'd go to little movie theaters like in Paris, and you'd see like, this is before video, and this is before cable TV. You couldn't see these movies. You couldn't go and see Paths of Glory with Kirk Douglas, who's 102, by the way. Happy birthday, Kirk. And directed by Stanley Kubrick. You couldn't go see that. So you'd go to these little theaters like in Paris, and there'd be like, there was like 12 people in the theater, and, like 50 seats. And I remember I had this, I went into the theater with this sandwich, right? I bought it. It was a gyro, a gyro. And I opened it up, in the middle of the movie, and they used to like load it up, and put like the fries on right in there and whatever. And I opened it up, and this British guy who's like sitting behind me goes, "Oh, that smells disgusting. What's wrong with you? You can't have food in here." I just kept eating. I was traumatized, but I kept eating. You could traumatize me, but I'll still eat. Anyway, so I ended up in England, actually, at the end. I started in the beginning and ended at the end. And I went to go see this guy, Martin Murray, famous, world famous in our business, card dealer. And I met him. He was an older guy, not too old. He wasn't old, actually. He was probably maybe, because now he's about 20 years older than me. So maybe he was in his 40s, early 40s. And this guy was really terrible. I mean, he was really not nice. But I know how to be nice to not nice people, because, you want to buy the stuff. So you got to do what you got to do. And we actually became really good friends. And to this day, I still communicate with him. But he had the most amazing store with all this great stuff. And I found all this great stuff that I'd never seen before. Cards, foreign stuff, French, Italian, Spanish, and British. And British had all the same sets and stuff as Topps, except they were made by A&BC, which was like the Topps representative in the UK. And, he sold me all these boxes and wrappers and things like that. And it was amazing. And I sold it all, of course. But now I'm kind of trying to get it all back. So when I see something like that Belgian space box, I love it, because it kind of reminds me, takes me back to that time when I was, traveling around Europe. And I was free as a bird. I just graduated. My life was ahead of me. I had I was really smart too, because, when you go to school, you get really smart because your brain is like a muscle. It was really like, from reading and stuff, I was smart. Now I'm dumb. But I remember that time. It was awesome. And I traveled and I met all kinds of people, beautiful women, ugly women. And it was a great time for me. 6 months of my life. It was awesome. And then finally I came home. Got cold and I came home in December, and I came home, and I was homesick. I was running out of money. So that was awesome. But another thing I did was interesting was back in when I was going to school, I used to do street fairs on the weekends, and I would sell memorabilia and cards and memorabilia and comic books at street fairs, because that was a good place, because it was like Manhattan, and it was cheap. It's like you couldn't have a store in Manhattan, but you could get a table at a street fair for $100 or whatever it was. And I remember the first ex-athlete I ever met was actually a guy named Dutch Garfinkel. And Dutch Garfinkel was an NBA basketball player for the Knicks. And he was this like old guy, and this was like, he was probably in his 60s. And he came by, and he was really like, cool, enthusiastic. And, I was really excited. And he told me that I had a bunch of 47 Bowman basketball, 48 Bowman basketball cards. And he looked for his card. It wasn't there, but he had one. So I went out and found him one. And I remember I went up to his apartment and knocked on the door, and he wasn't there. And I slid it under the door. I never spoke to Dutch Garfinkel again. And he died later on. But I found these over this past week. These are 48 Bowman basketball. They're pretty cool. And I was going through it. Guess what? Oh, let me see. Pardon the light. Let's see. Where is he? Now you got to wait like 20 minutes for me to find this card. Dutch Garfinkel. He's a Jew. Jews dominated basketball back then. Wonder why that was. Oh, maybe because it was a New York City street game. There he is. Oh, there's two of them. Jack, Dutch, Garfinkel. Wonder why they called him Dutch. They called my uncle Scotty. Well, his name was Harry. Scotty. You know why? Because he was cheap. There we go. There's Dutch. Oh, wait. Yeah, there he is. Oh, he was a Celtic. Maybe he was a Knick too. I don't remember. There we go. Cool. Good old Dutch. Known for one of the great passers in basketball. I don't know. That's like saying the girl you're going to go on a date with, a blind date with, has a great personality. Anyway, so I found these two over the week, last few days. Look at that stack, 48 again, 48 leaf. Look at this, it's amazing. There's a really rare card in here, but I don't think I have it. Rocky Graziano. Oh, look, it's not here. Of course not. But doesn't matter. Some great players in here. Players. Max Baer. His son was Max Baer Jr. Jethro, the Beverly Hillbillies, right? It's good. Also a Jew. Kid Chocolate. Cuban. I used to find stuff in Cuba in him. I love that. There were two. Who was the other one? There's another great Cuban fighter in the 50s. What was his name? I can't think. Don't have it. Jess Willard. He was a monster. He was like, oh, that's a nice card. Pretty nice condition. Not bad. Anyway. Got a couple more things to show you, and then I'm going to go. I'm low-key today. I'll tell you why I'm low-key. I had my mother and my sister the last few days, and that's a whole thing. That's really crazy. But I can't get in this. Is BS. Corey, what's the matter? I can't get in this. It's BS. I don't know. Look at this. This is a really rare ABA championship game program. I love that. And then I got these other programs over the last week. Oh, this is great. These are all Harvard, Yale football programs. Beautiful stuff. Early too. Look at this one. Beautiful. But Harvard, Yale football programs are not the thing. I mean, they're good. But what people really want, they want the Southern schools. Oh, look at this cover. Look at that. Is that beautiful? I gotta get better at this. That has that look of 1910s illustration art, like a Lion Decker. Great artist. 1920. Look at this. Very rare championship all-star game program, NBA. Tough because it's from where is it? What city is this? Rochester. Yeah. How many people in Rochester went to the game and saved it? Also ABA. Very rare. Look at that. That's good. First ABA All-Star program. Really tough. I don't know if I've ever seen this one or ever had it. This is like mint, near mint. Beautiful. One final thing. I love this. I just got the letter back from PSA on this. This is an amazing piece. Getting all excited to see what I'm going to show you. Now, that's a 1955 World Champion Brooklyn Dodgers yearbook. Right? That's a decent piece. Oh, it's falling apart a little bit. falling a little apart, a little more than when I sent it to PSA, by the way. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that it's autographed inside. Look at that. Oh, Campanella. I'm gonna ditch the cover, make it easier. Carl Furillo, Junior Gilliam, and oh, that's the key autograph. Believe it or not, this is the one you want. Oh, upside down. Frank Kellert. Frank Kellert is the only guy that the only Dodger team he played on was 55. So if you see a 1955 Dodger piece with his autograph on it, if you see a Dodger piece with his autograph on it, that's 55. And that's good because that's the only World Championship team. Just want to find one more, which is obvious who I'm looking for. Everybody's here. Yeah, there he is. Fortunately, he's not in uniform in the photo, but it's good enough. Jackie Robinson. That's right. That's Jackie signing in from above. All right. Thanks for stopping by. And we're going to take you out. It's my favorite theme song. One day they'll do this to Stairway to Heaven or something. Or Stairway to Heaven it is. Okay. This was a show about sports stuff, all about sports stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We know all about sports stuff, all about sports stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hope you really like the show. Good night, everybody. Be good.